Hey there, savvy investors. Welcome to yet another live training session here on our YouTube channel. For those that don't know me, my name is Mike Pawnee. I'm the founder of Savvy Investor and longtime Canadian real estate investor as well. Guys, we're in for another great training session, and specifically for those that are wanting to kind of get into the short-term rental, mid-term rental space, specifically on the topic of how best to design your unit to better appeal to your guests. Okay, post in the chat or in the comment section if this is sounding like you, and even better yet, if you are a short-term, mid-term renter right now, share what city you guys are currently investing in. It'd be great to kind of see where everybody's got their short-term rentals or mid-term rentals in their space right now. And it's kind of an interesting topic because with all of this discussion of interest rates hikes going up, cash flow is it is extremely difficult to find at all, especially when it comes to long-term rentals. But you're seeing a lot of investors right now starting to kind of move into this space, be it short-term, mid-term rentals, as they do provide a lot better income than long-term rentals. But the key is needs to be kind of done right. And that's part of the discussion that we're talking about even today. So that's why that's why I assume many of you guys are here joining us or watching this live or you're watching the recording. But I want to be clear. This is a little bit of a different business strategy, okay? You are not just in the real estate investing world, you're also in the hospitality business now. So guest experiences are extremely important. So this is kind of a really important topic, and we wanted to bring in some experts to kind of share some of their knowledge, especially because I'm lacking any of that experience or not lacking any of that knowledge, to be honest with you. So to help us kind of better learn this and provide the best guest experience, make your property shine and attractive to a lot larger audience, I'm very happy and honored to bring Heather and Erin from Pink Wall Designs to share some amazing tips with us investors that are looking to maybe expand in this investment strategy, or for those that are just getting started, actually. Okay, so I think this is going to be a great topic, great discussion. And I know for me, like I said earlier, this isn't my strong suit. And I joked around it or with the ladies before in a previous training session we've done. I'm the worst when it comes to kind of design. And that's very thankful for my wife to kind of have that skill set, because for me, not so much. Okay. But before we kind of get started here, just a friendly reminder that this is a YouTube live. I can see your questions and I can see your comments. Make sure that they're nice and friendly. Okay. So post them in the chat. Love to make sure you get your questions answered. This forum is for you guys. So to help kind of kickstart things and get that keyboard kind of clicking along and get going, make sure you take a moment, if you haven't done so already, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is a platform for yourselves to continue to learn. And the more the more you like and share and communicate, the more content that we can provide you and bring you better value as well. So to kind of get going, let's get to the topic at hand. And more importantly, let's invite our guest speakers, Erin and Heather, to the platform. So welcome, ladies. I'm going to unmute you guys first, so you guys can actually talk. How's it going? So anyway, thanks guys for joining us, and thanks for being part of this. So how are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
You're welcome. It's great to see you guys again. And also, we got a little bit of congratulations, just so everybody knows. You guys may have seen these wonderful ladies all over social media because they're doing some amazing things out there. But Heather recently had a baby boy. So congratulations, Heather, as well. So it's very exciting for you. So congrats.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So like I said, you guys are pretty active. You guys are doing some amazing things out there. But for those that are brand spanking new, they've never seen you, have never heard of you guys before, maybe you guys can do a little bit of an introduction yourself, share a little bit about who you are, what you do, what's your story, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Yeah, Heather, you want to go first?
Sure. So Erin and I are Pink Wall Designs, which is a hospitality interior design company. So we specialize in vacation rentals, motels, hotels, all of that. And we are specifically designing for people who are looking for that experience and that exciting stay. Like they're, going on vacation or leaving their regular, homes and lives, and they want something different. That's totally what we specialize in with our company. Individually, we both have a background in real estate investing and interior design as well. And both have been doing that respectively for a number of years. And we've come together to create this business, brought both of our wells of knowledge together. And we're sort of this power team now that bring similar and different skills to our clients. And we're just helping them one by one, maximize their ROI and really make a big difference and a big splash in that hospitality space.
Love it. Anything else you want to add, Erin?
I know Heather always like nails it every time, but yeah, just like everyone, we started, like being educated and learning about just simple investing. And then as you grow, you start to pivot, you get more knowledge. So Heather and I kind of became really short-term rental heavy. And then we just love the aspect of the design, the hospitality. And then that's where we came together, her and I, and we made Pinkwall Designs.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So let's kind of get right to the topic at hand. Because again, this is where your skill set is. This is not my skill set. And I joke, but I don't joke. Like, this is for real. Like, I suck at this stuff and you guys know about this already. But there's a lot of individuals that are getting into this space, and rightfully so. Again, cash flow is becoming really challenging. And even more so, you're seeing a lot of government regulations on rent controls and all of this stuff. So this kind of opens up a lot of different avenues in regards to more income. But like I said earlier in the introduction, this is a hospitality business now too, and we need to think of it in that particular way. And so some of the things like guest satisfaction, overall experience, and with that being said, is the more bookings. We want more bookings. So maybe you can start off with just the simplest question, I guess, for you guys, not so much for me, but how can a well-designed short-term rental or mid-term rental space impact all those things: guest satisfaction, overall experience, and even more so, and more importantly, more bookings? How can that be done?
Yeah, so design is your product's packaging, in short. You could be at the store and see a shelf with 6 identical products, and if price is more or less the same, the deciding factor on the purchase usually is like what looks the most appealing to that person's eye, whether it's like the prettiest, the nicest, the cleanest. Everybody has sort of their list of boxes that they like to be checked. And so in the short-term rental space, when you're going on Airbnb and, you have your price range and all your filters hit, and then you have, your final sort of 5 properties, I guess, people are going to book the nicest looking one. It's just human nature, biology, whatever you want to call it. So you want to be that person that gets that booking. You have to make sure that your property looks the best. And the way for it to look the best is to get it professionally designed. There's no way around it.
Right.
So that's the short answer.
Yeah.
Good answer. I like it. Erin, you want to chat? Any more comment on your end?
It just like it starts the minute someone is trying to book, like Heather's saying, they're comparing, they don't know who they're going to go with, and they're going to pick the best one, to all the way when they actually get there, that wow factor, the experience they have during their stay, that's going to in turn reflect on their reviews that they leave you. So everybody always says reviews. And so like, it's just all like a full circle, and the design is going to help you stand out, like Heather's saying.
Yeah. And like, what would you say, like, what's the time frame? Again, even myself, I've done this. In fact, I booked one for this weekend. No, I won't share it, but how much time do you have for a guest to kind of make a decision real quickly? Like they're quickly going through this. Like, it's probably like a split second, right? It's like really quick, right? So it's that first image, that first perception that really is the most important, correct?
Yeah, like a split second, you nailed it, is literally all you have. And then you can't go back and undo that. Once you've seen it, right? Right. And so like, that's why even like beyond design, your photos are so important as well. And whatever you choose to be your hero photo, like that main one that people see when they hover over your listing, is even more important. So that photo has to be bright, clean, crisp, well-designed, professionally taken, decluttered. Like there's a whole list of things that go into having like a well-displayed listing on Airbnb. And it's so important. People, like, we run into this all the time with clients. They'll pay for professional design, and then they'll
Yeah.
take cell phone photos and they'll put those up. And
Yeah.
I mean, it still looks better than a lot of the different properties because you can see the design come through. But if you compare cell phone photos to professional photos, it's night and day. And then you're not doing the design that you paid for, full service either, because you've kind of cheapened it out with like even as small as like having a crooked photo or something like that. Those things all play into whether or not people are going to click on your listing. And even if you want to be one of the higher priced short-term rentals, if you have that unbelievable first impression, people are probably going to extend their budget and justify in their head spending a bit more because they've just fallen so in love with your product. It's no different than anything else, going into the store and seeing like, a suit or a dress that you're like, wow, that looks so nice. Like, or a car that you want to buy, or for people in here, maybe it's a property that looks amazing. We all operate in that way. And so you just have to play into that and don't do anything differently for short-term rentals.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, like for me, even I do this all the time. I'm looking at a short-term rental. I'm looking at Airbnb, and I'm like, that place looks really, really nice, but I didn't want to spend that much. But I'm like, you know what? We don't need to go out for dinner. Why do we need? Well, we'll eat a hot dog. No, I'm just joking. Of course not. My wife would never let me do that anyway. But truthfully, you tend to kind of stretch that out. Now, this is an important one. You brought this up, and this is actually I'm really happy you brought this up. Is the importance of professional pictures. And I can share this with the audience here from more of a long-term rental perspective. We always get professional pictures done for our rentals, long-term rentals. And I'm going to tell you that makes all the difference in the world, like huge. And just so you guys know, and again, costs vary from place to place. I get it. But like for myself, I'm paying $225 to bring a photographer in to go take a bunch of pictures. And he actually does drone videos and the whole enchilada. It's not that bad when you think about the grand scheme of things. And that's such a small piece that you can make your property shine so much better with professional pictures than just trying to cheap out on something like this with, no offense, even though my phone is pretty good, get it done properly. But this may be another question to you guys. And it's one thing I've noticed is you got your photographers that specialize in like properties that are for sale and even long-term rentals. Is there photographers that are more specialized for short-term rentals? And maybe you can share on that.
Yes. So this is like this is what elevates your listing. So kind of another like branch of our company as well is like the marketing. And so you're also marketing by showing like you can have people enjoying the experiences of your property. So you can get like, people will call them models, but even if it's like your friends or your family, like showcasing that there's floaties in the pool, like people actually utilizing and having fun, and like taking that next level by staging it elevates your total listing like to the next level.
Yeah, perfect. Debbie's just highlighting this right now. She's paying $300 for professional photos, drone shots, and virtual walkthroughs. Virtual walkthroughs is excellent for insurance claims as well. Love it, Debbie, and absolutely 100%. But truthfully, worth every single dollar from my perspective. And I would imagine, especially in this space, again, it's all about that experience and making them feel good. And making them make that decision. So that's awesome. Thanks, Debbie, for sharing. So
really quick, sorry, $300 doesn't even feel that steep. Like when you think about purchasing a property, the down payment, the closing costs, the blah, blah, like all of that. And then you're going to, hold out at the end and save $300 and not do it. It's like, it's just kind of stupid. Like if you ask me, like may as well just do it. It's not like it's 3,000 or 30,000. It's $300,
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's a great investment is just what I wanted to add.
Yeah. And to add on to that, like it shouldn't be any different than like you listing your primary residence. Like it's an investment, you want top dollar. And so your investment property, you want top bookings. So you don't want to cheap out on getting, like not doing a video, not doing the walkthrough, not doing professional photos, not having it staged properly. So when you think of it that way, like you're going to get top bookings if you do it properly.
Love it. Very good. It's your time to shine, right? This is it. All that work, all that effort, make sure it presents itself appropriately out there. And that's, spend the bucks. It's not even that much, such a small piece, exactly like you said, Heather, right? So it's Awesome. Okay, so let's get to the next question. And I think this is an important one. And I would imagine this is part of your initial planning strategy. And I'm going to get to the planning strategy in a bit. But I would imagine you guys, when you guys are looking at a property and say, for example, you're working with me, you're probably going to be taking some time or some research to kind of determine, what would be the demographics, the guest preference, who your, what the location attracts, all of those types of elements into the area, and to kind of really figure out kind of more of the design process. So maybe you can share a little bit about how do you research this stuff? How do you kind of figure out your method in regards to understanding? And there's a term that's used out there as a guest avatar, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with. And it's trying to identify and visualize who your ideal guest is going to be. And to be very clear, it could be like a single, maybe it's just an entrepreneur for more midterm rentals. Maybe it's a family. So how do you guys determine what that is? Like, guest preferences, demographics, attractions, to kind of figure out that kind of design element to it. Maybe you can, wouldn't mind sharing on that?
Mm-hmm. So step one, we actually just ask our client usually first to be like, so what do you know about the area? Who do you expect is going to be booking your Airbnb? And a lot of the times they know, because especially people who have purchased in an area that they sort of live in, they're usually pretty with it in terms of they know who's going to be staying there and booking there. In the case that they don't really have any idea, like we've had some people before just list off everything, and we're like, okay, you've named the whole world, right? And we're gonna target it on one thing. Erin and I will just do our own research, and we'll just figure out what's around. So is there a stadium? Is it going to be people going to like concerts and sporting events? Is there universities around? Is it more of a bachelorette situation or a bachelor like party area? So we'll sort of do our own research, and then we mix that with the property. So if it's like a 2-1, like a 2-bed, 1-bathroom, we're probably not going to really be targeting large groups, right? It's going to be more so singles, professionals, families, like small families. If it's like a 7-bedroom house in like the middle of downtown Nashville, then we're going to be targeting like bachelorettes and bachelors and bachelor parties and that type of thing. So the property mixed with the demographics really kind of gives us our answer. And then we also ask the client, who do they want at their property too? Because some people don't really want that like party scenario, right? Or they want a specific kind of party or what have you. So, we take that into consideration as well. And then Erin and I have like a consultation, the two of us together, and we come up with, okay, what's going to be the theme? What are we going to do? What are the colors? And then we sort of just let our minds run away with the idea. And then we start to create ideas and we come up with something that works.
Perfect. I guess the other part to that is, and maybe this is actually another segment. Let's say I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I'm just starting. I have no idea what I want. All I want is $300 a day. That's what I want, right? I want to put money in my jeans and that's it. What would you, and I don't know if there is a preference. Is there an ideal avatar, a preference for a guest avatar or a particular guest, or no? I'd be interested to hear kind of what your thoughts are.
I would say there's like an ideal guest avatar in specific areas, but like Heather was saying, that's where all the research, kind of like the creativeness coming together. And then we also do like market research as well. So there are sites out there, and you can literally even just go on like Airbnb or AirDNA. Those are like top sites that most people do know of. And you can actually see, okay, what are the top performing short-term rentals in this area, and like those are your comparables that you want to compare to. And we can talk on this because not always is a comparable a good thing, and you want to mimic exactly that. But the top producing ones, they're clearly doing something right. So you want to like also kind of like see, okay, these people have a pool, these people have a ping pong table, a pool table, they have like all these things, that amenities plus the design. So then that's something where Heather and I look and we take it to our client and say, we're suggesting you do this as well, because those are your direct comparables.
Love it. Very good. Perfect. I think that's fantastic. So, okay, so let's get to the next part. And I guess, for us people, there's a lot of us just like the designing side. That's their preference. I joke around, but like I said, I don't like this stuff. This is not for me. But with that being said, let's say you've determined your guest avatar, and say, for example, it's partiers or it's family or whatever it is. I'm assuming by the time you've determined, and I guess this is one of the things for people that are wanting to do this on their own, is once you've kind of determined your guest avatar, who the ideal person is, that kind of sets the tone in regards to your design and even the materials that you use, in regards to durability, to cleanliness, just to everything that comes along with it. So how do you, again, like I said, if I was to do this myself, say you guys were teaching me, okay, I would feel so sorry for you guys. But if you were teaching me, how would you begin that process? Okay, so we've determined the guest avatar being whatever. How do you start to kind of lay this kind of thing out?
So yeah, we would definitely, we really advise our clients to just like kind of sit back and let us do our thing, because that's the point of hiring a professional, right? Like when you go to the dentist, you don't want to sit there and be like, but wait, can you do this and this and that? No, you sit in the chair and the dentist does their thing and then you leave, right? Because they're the professional. And we really encourage that as well. And it's a little bit of a trickier, gray area with design, because generally speaking, probably most people, in first world countries anyway, have like had their hand somewhat in design, because at bare minimum, they've probably purchased furniture for the place that they live. So
Right.
they kind of think that they have a general idea. But we super encourage to, don't get those two things mixed up, but because this is a product, this is an investment. Sit back, let us do our thing. And then we will put a design together for them. So, and the other thing too is like, we're not, pressing go or doing any sort of green lighting without our client's consent. So like we'll tell them to sit back, we'll do our design, but then we present them with a full mood board room by room before we order a single cent of anything. So our client does get to see what their house is going to look like. And then they can ask questions. They can say, why did you pick this? They can say, we're nervous about, the durability of this couch or whatever. And then that's when we can kind of go through those things. In terms of like personal preference, when it comes to design, we like hit this home so hard with all of our clients. We always just tell them like you have to detach your personal opinions and your personal taste from this product. It's not your personal home. You're not living there. You're not staying there. You're putting it on the market to get other people to pay to stay at your property. It's a product. And so it can be a challenge if people don't understand that. And we have had some clients that they have been blinded by their personal taste. But anyway, that's just sort of how we would tell you. So if you were our client, we would say, okay, if you don't know your target market, this is what we think you should go with based on your property and, the comps, like Erin said, and also the geography, the demographics of the area. Here's what we mean by X, Y, and Z. And then we present them with a mood board. And then once they see the mood board, they can revise it. We allow a revision, but again, not getting that personal preference sort of in the way of things, because, your ideal avatar is the person that is going to be booking and not yourself. So we just kind of always try to keep those things separate, and it's really easy for some, harder for others, but that's why we're here, just to sort of coach everybody and make them feel okay about it. And generally speaking, it's like the serial investors seem to just kind of say like, hey girls, like do your thing. It's more the people who it's like their first Airbnb or maybe their second, they're not, full-time investors. They seem to be a little bit more nervous, but those are the people that really need to detach, because if you only have those one or two properties, you're banking on one or two of those properties to like really, bring in your money, versus if you're a serial investor and you have a ton of properties, it maybe doesn't really matter too much if one isn't like doing amazing, right? Because you have so it's kind of like that, a little bit of a reverse sort of situation, but that's how we would handle it basically.
Love it.
I think too, like what Heather was saying, like a lot of people, if it's their first Airbnb, they want to be involved. They're so excited, right? So then they bring in that like personal opinion. But the ones that have so much on the go, like they can literally like hand it off and say, I trust you guys. Like this is what you do as a business. I've seen your work. And to add on to like what Heather was saying, we're coming from a place where we're investors and we've done this ourselves as well.
Yeah.
So we're not just working for clients, like we truly do understand where we need to like put the money and then also keep in mind your budget, right? So we focus on like certain things that are quality, more like your bed frames and like the couches and that kind of stuff, that the wear and tear, you do need to kind of go a step up. But then
Right.
mattresses and like other things like bed sheets and whatnot, like we have our go-to that we always use for clients because we know that's where we can save and, you know, allocate funds other places.
Love it. So I guess hanging my moose heads and deer heads up on the wall, probably not going to appeal to everybody. Is that what you're saying? I'm joking.
I mean, if it's a cabin in Montana, maybe. Like that would work for that crew up there.
Yeah.
I'm only joking. I don't have any moose heads or deer heads, but I'm just joking around that. But anyway, to your point. So, but you know, it's actually a question I was going to ask you about personal preference or personal style versus what the style is for your ideal avatar. And I think that's an important one because you got to remember where you are investing and what's going to be appealing there. And, you know, we're joking about moose heads and deer heads, but again, that could be very appealing in a specific market where if you've got nothing but white, I don't know, linens and everything like that, that may not be as appealing where they want that rustic feel to it, right? So
Exactly.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Love it, love it, love it, guys. Okay, so perfect. So let's get right in kind of the meat and potatoes of this thing. So you've kind of determined what your guest avatar is, and you've got kind of a real good sense of this. How do you begin designing? Like what are those natural steps? Like, and I think for me, this is where I would get very, very overwhelmed. And I do all the time. You know, you go to the store and like, well, I think I've got a kind of a reasonable vision in my head of what I want this room. And I can only use that from that experience of what that looks like. I'll go to the store and it's just like, you know, there's just so many options, so many choices, so many things. How do you kind of narrow this down and create kind of more of a designing process? Like I said, this would be obviously how you guys do it. But say, for example, there's individuals that want to do this on their own because they love this stuff. Not so much myself, but how would you start that? How would you begin with that design process?
So Heather,
go ahead.
So Heather and myself, like when we meet with a client and we get over, you know, like the demographics, the avatar, all of that, we then kind of, this is where like the two brains work so much better because we can bounce ideas off one another. And then we just become inspired by like the theme or the color scheme that we go with. Like if we were suggesting and recommend to someone to do this themselves, like you can even go online and kind of find an inspo and then take ideas from there. But we often like Heather and I will divvy it up. Like we'll do different rooms, but like still keep that like cohesiveness, colors, and the vibe throughout the property. But you can often start with like one big focal point. So start with the feature wall, and then you can find pieces that complement with that. Or, you know, like don't be afraid to mix woods with like other colors and different textures, that kind of thing too. So I think getting inspired by maybe like doing some research as well as like tapping into your creative side is really where anyone can do it. It just, if you want to do it.
And just to add to that too, I think the key is as well to help with simplicity, because as you mentioned, when you walk into a store, it's so overwhelming and it's also been merchandised. So like all the most expensive things are like styled and on display at the front because it's meant to like hook, line, and sink, you know, somebody who maybe isn't overly savvy to be like, ooh, this whole thing looks perfect. Let me just buy this. And meanwhile, it's like the most expensive thing in the store. So that's all been like curated to do that, right? So to keep it simple, it is nice to kind of just have a blank slate, literally. That's how we start. We have a blank white like mood board. And then to just add, like pull in different things and add and delete and add and delete. And then you kind of find your flow, and then you can kind of go for it. And as Erin said, like, starting with like a big feature piece, whether that be a couch or a feature wall or something that you know that you really want to highlight in a specific room, is like the easiest way. And then you can sort of work backwards from there. Even, you know, if there's going to be like a games room inside of the house and the client says like, you know, pool is non-negotiable, and then some other games or something, then you already know like we have to include a pool table. So start with the pool table and then like work backwards from there. So if you just keep those simple but larger items, it's a bit easier to kind of, and then your brain starts going, ooh, that would look nice with this, and that would look nice with that. And then like you get into that little world, and all the fun starts at that point.
Perfect. How do you know if your how do you know if your design is really aligned with the guest experience? Like, what are some of the, you know, sometimes this may be for some of you that are watching live or on the recording right now, you may not be getting as many listings as you were last year. And we're hearing a lot of that too. It's just that things have kind of slowed down, which in some cases, this is even more important for you guys to stick out than ever before, right? And so if you're seeing kind of things slow down, maybe you're not attracting your right avatar, or maybe you need some adjustments. How do you ensure your design elements is maintaining that guest experience and that brand image, which in turn is turning to bookings? How do you continue to ensure that that's working for you?
I think just constantly checking in back to like our theme and what our client wants and with each other is just key to like remaining consistent and like cohesive throughout. So I think like if at any time, if either Erin and I have ever even been stuck on something, it's good to like take a quick break, but then also just remember like, where are we, right? So like if this is like a Florida beach property, then at the bulk of things, like the underlying sort of feel throughout the whole house should be like beach, you know, right, water, that type of feel. So if you're sort of like focused on that and have that like sort of like lingering and making all the decision, or like that being sort of at the forefront of all your decisions, then it's usually like fairly easy to stay on track. So like, you know, you could get carried away. I get carried away all the time because I'm like getting all design happy and stuff. And then, you know, I've pulled things into a mood board before, and I'm just like, okay, but ultimately the bottom line, like, is this beach family happy? And then I'm like, if it's not, delete. And if it is, then it can stay. So if you just always sort of have that anchor, I guess you could call it, at the forefront of things, then yeah, it's fairly easy to just be like, okay, wait, does this align with why somebody is going to book this property?
Yeah.
Right.
And functionality too has to make sense. I think that's like what we were saying earlier by looking at other properties. So if you're noticing you're like not getting bookings again, you should ask yourself why. Like, are there pieces that are outdated? Are there, like, even as simple as updating and upkeeping linen and the quality of like the bed sheets that make the guest experience? Like, those are all things that you should consider throughout time as well, because you're not just going to have that throughout the entire time that you're a host, right? Yeah. So always constantly like looking for something new to update, I think is like super, super key.
Good advice.
And a lot of the times too, like people initially, it's scary. It's a lot of money up front, right? That they kind of do hold back on design. And that should be your time where you're like, okay, we got to make an impact at first. What's important? And then maybe we can add those things later on as we start to get bookings.
Love it. Love it. Now, Heather, you've referenced this a couple times, and excuse the ignorance, at least from my end, but I'm sure there's other people that are wondering this as well. You mentioned a mood board. So maybe you can highlight, what is a mood board?
Yeah, a mood board is basically just our ideas on paper. It's really digital. It's really just like, here is essentially what your house is going to look like. So we do it room by room. So it's like a big board, and it'll say like bedroom, living room, dining, kitchen. It has all the different rooms in your specific property, and we'll lay it out for you literally. So you'll see a feature wall, a bed, nightstands, lamps, lighting, rug, like you'll see the whole thing. So no, it's not going to be exactly in your house yet, but you can look at it and be like, oh, okay, like I love that. I like that. I can see how this whole room works together. I can blah, blah, blah. So the client is able to essentially see their property before we've purchased anything or assembled anything. So it's just like a bit of a preview or a highlight reel, if you will.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome. Okay, so let's get kind of to the furniture part. Oh, actually, before we get to the furniture part, I want to ask one question because this may be for some people that are on this right now. And Heather, I see your question, so hang tight. I'll get to that. I promise. Trending. What is trending right now when it comes to design? Or is there anything specifically that's trending? Because again, people may be watching this today and they're just like, again, my bookings are down. Why is it down so much? And how do I get some attraction? Is there anything that's trending that you're aware of, just in the industry in general?
Yeah, there are definitely like individual like products that are trending. And then there's also like, rooms that are trending and like experiences that are trending. So for exterior, for example, string lights are like very trendy right now. Most people are including them. I don't really see them going anywhere though, to be honest. They're such a nice, like provide such a nice ambiance, and they're so cheap. They're so easy to add to your property. There's like no upkeep involved. It's all weather and shatter friendly. There's solar options. There's plug-in options. Like it's just, there's such an easy add-on. So I don't really see that going too far. Also like fire pits with like Adirondack chairs, those are really big too, and an easy amenity to just sort of throw in and add. Feature walls, definitely, but I think feature walls are sort of like, have been and will continue. I think just like exactly what type of feature walls will trend and go away. Like slat walls are very in right now, which are for people that don't know what that is. It's like those like thin pieces of like wood, and either you can paint them or you can leave them like a wood stain. Those are big. Grass walls are big too. We're kind of trying to push the boundaries a little bit. We've actually suggested to some clients to put the grass walls inside, which people have traditionally pictured mostly just exterior, but like you can play around with those different things to make your listing different, right? So those kinds of things are trending, but I feel like if you like, we don't really focus too much on trends. If it's an experience, Costco is the cheapest price on string lights. Thank you, Debbie. Sorry, I'm just noticing that. Yeah, and they're probably the best quality too, because Costco, everyone knows, is amazing. So we don't really focus too much on trends. Like when you talk about trends from a theme perspective, like a boho trend, contemporary trend, a farmhouse trend, I think those things are more common to go in and out of style. So we don't really design with those themes too much in mind. We could have like a boho leaning design, or we could have like a couple rooms that are a little bit more boho feeling, but we don't sit down and say like, let's do like a boho, like, you know what I mean? Just because you do run the risk of in 3 to 5 years, it's going to be dated and you're going to have to redo it. And that's what we don't want people to have to depend on. But the way that Erin and I design is we're kind of there, like just doing our own thing and like making the property its own experience and its own destination. And therefore it's not reliant on trends. And in 3 to 5 years, it's still going to be relevant because it's not going to be dated. It's in its own world. So that's like key for people to focus on, because I think anyway, because if you lean too hard into things that are happening right now, like if it's a trend right now, it really actually started 2 years ago, and therefore it's probably going to be gone in another 2 years.
So that's going to be a new trend. Yeah,
exactly. Right. A 2-year shelf life, and it's just a waste of money at that point. And then you also run the risk of looking like everybody else who's also trying to do that. So if you just sort of, be a little bit more fearless and step outside the box and just kind of make your own trends in a way, that's the best use of your money and best use of future turnover, I think.
Love it.
And to add on, like another, like when we say trends, I feel like sometimes a trend is more like location specific as well. So you were talking about like the moose antlers, all of that, like that will never go out in a specific cabin-esque like location, right? So that's very theme specific. And then Heather was talking about specific items as well that are really trending right now. I would say neon signs is another big one, with like a fun saying, or something that like really stands out in a feature wall.
Yeah.
That's always a good go-to as well.
Very good. Love it. Love the neon signs too. Actually, it's always a lot of fun, right? Have a little fun with it. So cool.
And those are
Okay.
easy to change if you get bored of the saying too. Like they're not very expensive. So if you're sick of it, then you can just easily change it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff, Facebook Marketplace, Amazon. There's lots of those types of things that you can get reasonably cheap. So for sure. Okay, so let's get into the furniture side. And I guess the one thing I think that everybody's aware, maybe be aware of, is maybe space utilization, especially in a rental. Is it important, number one? Secondly, and what strategies do you ensure, or what strategies do you use to ensure that the flow is all going to work within the unit? So is it important? And if so, how do you guys do it to ensure flow is working out? Or even for those that are actually doing this on their own, what should they be doing?
Yeah. So go ahead.
I'll start it off just by saying, like, your property, you should always fit the furniture based on the property. So if you're hosting and specifying for 4 people, then you don't need a big couch to host 8 or 10. Do you know what I mean? Because then it'll look like you're cramming way too much into the space, and it won't give that like openness. So I think like just focusing on like what the need is more than what you like are comparing it to, that would pay off.
And also what we do is we get as much information as humanly possible from our clients for their properties. If we are blessed enough to end up with a floor plan, then it's really simple to see exactly the current flow of things, and then to maintain / enhance that flow as well off of a floor plan. So, and I think a lot of people are quick to sort of copy what the previous person had. So if you are buying an Airbnb, and maybe it was like a primary residence before you got your hands on it, like the sellers were living there. Sellers will just put whatever they want, wherever they want, right? They're living there, whatever works for their family is like what works, right? So just because those people had a couch in a certain area, like does not mean that you coming in, like you need to put that couch in the same area. A lot of people get blinded by that. And they're like, oh, well, the sellers had it like this. We hear that a lot. Oh, well, the sellers had it set up like this. Well, I mean, great to take note, but like, does it actually work? Because if the answer is no, then scrap it. And what Erin and I do is we're able to see beyond furniture, and we can see a property for what it is. So we're not looking at any furniture, any lamps, anything. We're looking at walls, doors, openings, what rooms are beside each other. Does the kitchen go into this room, blah, blah. And then we're blending out all the rest of this stuff, basically erasing it out of our mind, and then saying, okay, makes the most sense for the TV to go here, makes the most sense for this to go there. And so because we do this all day, every day, our brains just sort of operate in that way. And we're able to just look at a property and sort of reconfigure it to the best, its best of its ability. And we will suggest to clients, like, remove these doors because the flow is interrupted because this is here. Amalgamate these 2 rooms. If you can knock down a wall, knock down a wall. Or we've done the reverse where we've had like studio apartments where we've created individual spaces with like, simple little hacks, because yes, flow is important, but then you also want like, individual areas and privacy as well. So I mean, I guess looking at so for somebody who like wants to do this, looking at a floor plan is very, very helpful. And if you're looking at listing photos, just look beyond what's in there already. Like, don't pay attention to the staging. Just look at walls and doors and ceilings and that type of stuff.
Love it. Great advice. Amazing. Really, really good. So as we talk about furniture, and I guess this is actually one of the questions actually that's going to pop up, and I put it on here as one for myself, is how do you guys balance like the aesthetics, functionality, durability, and even the cost side of things? Like, how do you kind of manage through this? Because sometimes, exactly like you said, I was like, that would look so beautiful in my short-term rental. I know we get, and then the costs just go through the roof because sometimes we get a little bit too emotional in this and not using this anymore. Again, this is a real estate investing business, guys, no matter what. So don't get too emotional on this. And it's actually a question from Heather as well. It's the same question, but what are some of the things to look for when buying furniture to ensure that they are durable, but also look great? Functionality, aesthetics, durability. So if you've got some comments that you can share based on that.
This is pretty much every investor's comment to us. Like this is what it always is. We have this budget, but we want an amazing quality furniture, and we want it to be durable, and we want it to look good. And then we're like, okay, so you want a genie in a bottle, basically, but okay, there is a happy medium. So for starters, Erin and I get industry discounts with many different stores. So that's another perk of hiring a designer, is that we get money off of tons of different furniture stores because we're on the commercial side of things. We're professionals. So that helps because we can oftentimes pass that savings on to our clients. So that helps us get a little bit better quality for a little bit less. So that kind of ticks one of those boxes. Also, it's just sort of a conversation, right? Like we've had before in the past, clients have said, we really can't cheap out on the couch, blah, 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 blah. But then they have a timeline of like them wanting to launch their Airbnb in 2 weeks from now. So then we run into the problem sometimes of like, okay, we found this amazing couch. We've sourced it. It's a little bit more expensive. It's great quality. Reviews are great, but it's going to take 6 weeks to ship. So then it's just a conversation with our clients. Okay, like something's got to give. You either wait longer or we get a different couch that might be a little bit cheaper, a little bit less like, better quality, but it's going to come on time. So there's so many different factors to consider when purchasing furniture that it's really just a balancing game, and it really matters per project, per client. So if the client's number one priority is their launch date, then everything else is going to be the decision, for everything else is going to be based around that launch date. If quality is the client's number one priority, then everything's going to go for the quality, right? So it just matters like what getting clear on your top priority is very, very helpful. And then as Erin sort of mentioned earlier, there is like a nice happy medium. Like as investors, you can focus on beds and couches and sort of allocate more funds to those places because they get the most wear and tear, and they also are probably the more important items of like that require comfortability. And then when it comes to like lamps and things like that, and rugs even, you don't necessarily have to spend an arm and a leg on those things. They can be more aesthetically pleasing, but they don't necessarily have to be super expensive because they're not, a lot of people aren't even turning the lamps on. They're going to turn the overhead light on. It's just more so there for design. So that's what we are constantly looking out for, is like, okay, let's, do a little bit, spend a little bit more on these items and then a little bit less on certain things over here. And then the other thing to consider too, is that even if you do want more of, let's say, a trendy couch that might be a little bit lower in quality, as long as it's like, as long as it's not going to break like next month, I mean, it is a short-term rental and you are probably going to have to replace things. So you can also look at it from a different perspective of like, okay, we're going to go bold on this like purple couch, but it probably won't last us more than 3 years, but it's also only like $800. But then if you are going to be sick of purple in 3 years and we've designed it in a way that you can replace that purple couch with a different color couch, then that's kind of more of an excuse to get a new one in the 3 years. Like, you know what I'm saying? So if you just sort of get clear on what your priorities are, then there's multiple different ways to do things.
Love it. Very, very good. So you mentioned it a couple times, and maybe to kind of elaborate, spending your money in the right places. So, putting your money towards, what's really going to stand. What would those, if you went to say your top 3 or top 5, maybe top 5, if that's okay. Where would you put your money in? What were some of those important items that you'd put your money in versus maybe not as important? What would be your top 5?
I think we'd say couch for sure. That's like number one. Because, people are going to be on there, a lot of wear and tear. Beds, like in terms of like a solid bed frame, but also like a mattress. But here's the crazy thing is like we actually use one that it's good quality, but it doesn't break the bank. and it comes all nicely wrapped up, and it compares to all the other kind of like higher name and brands as well. So that's another one that we kind of have a go-to. And
bar stools is another one because they get people are on them all the time and spilling food and drinks and things like that.
Yeah.
Kitchen table.
Yeah, kitchen table. And like that one's kind of a tricky one too, because I mean, kitchen tables are generally more of a high ticket item anyway. Yeah. So there is a way to kind of do it for a little bit less, but also sort of like look and feel high end. You want it to be sturdy and durable, but it doesn't have to be like this beautiful solid wood type of piece. So that's like one where it's almost like a halfie. Like you want to like spend enough on it, but then you still don't have to go crazy, because sometimes people aren't even eating at the kitchen table. If it's like, you know, a pool property, they want to eat outside. They want to, you know, eat at the bar if there is one. So what was that, 4? So yeah, 4.
One more.
Fifth one, what would you say, Erin? Maybe like
I feel like I just always know that like linens are another huge one that I feel like you don't want to cheap out on, like your bed sheets and the towels. Like that's something that someone's using, and it just makes it feel more luxurious compared to something that's falling apart.
It does. And towels, don't be fooled, are decor as well. Maybe not like if you have like your bath and shower towels that are in the closet all the time, those fine, those can be whatever. They should still be like nice and well thought out. But like, especially when it comes to like hand towels and like decorative towels, people are quick to just like go buy whatever on Amazon. Maybe those are decor. Do not miss that option and that opportunity to like utilize that hanging towel in your bathroom as like another piece of decor. And that doesn't mean that it has to like pop out and like scare you. It can be black, but just make it intentional, basically. So get higher quality and know what don't just buy, you know, the big pack from Costco because it was like a good price. It has to still make a statement in whichever way was planned by your design.
Love it. Very good. Very good. So comes to the point, and my wife loves to joke around how cheap I am, which I am, but that's okay. That's just part of my life. But best places, and you guys reference this, and I think for a lot of people that are watching this right now and at the same time watching the recording, is they want to know where you guys kind of shop. So maybe you got some suggestions of best places to shop for like more of a budget-friendly design, but at the same time still provides a good return on your investment, durable, the whole thing. So do you have recommendations that people are like, yeah, these are, you know, that they should be paying attention to, that are great for short-term rental, midterm rental? And the one thing I love about these ladies is they get it. They are investors first, designers second in a lot of ways, because they get the business, that this is a business. And so when you're making these types of investments, you got to look at the return on this as well. So what are some of your suggestions? What are your go-to resources for furniture, all sorts of things? Maybe you can share that with our community.
Yeah. So we are, as you said, like extremely budget conscious, sometimes more so than our clients even. Like we've come in under budget a lot of times for projects. And our clients are like, oh, I thought it was going to be this much. And we're like, no. Like, because it is an investment, right? It's an investment property and it's not your personal home. So with that said, we are shopping at like budget friendly stores. So like a ton of Wayfair, ton of Amazon, a ton of Costco, Target, all of those kind of quality discount places is really where we find our things. And I know some of those stores can get like a bad rap, like even IKEA. We kind of like we don't love IKEA for other reasons, like their shipping and stuff isn't the best. But IKEA has its time and its place sometimes. We're not usually getting like beds and those big ticket items from IKEA, but like sometimes curtains or pillows or things like that can be purchased from IKEA. But I realize some of these stores do get have a little bit of a reputation or whatnot, but it's important to really like do a deep dive. So like when we're on Amazon, for example, we're not just like pulling up the first thing that we see. Like we're going into the reviews, we're searching on page 10. Like we're really like, there are some quality items to be purchased on Amazon. of course, you're going to get your duds here and there. And if that's the case too, then like we return things and replace them for our clients. But for the most part, there's great products and great savings in the stores that I just mentioned. And same with Wayfair. Wayfair has some great stuff as well, and hidden gems even. And what we love about Wayfair too is that we have a business account with them. So we have a dedicated representative that works specifically with us. But if something's damaged or even just like a little bit off, they're like replacing it immediately. They say, okay, yep, no problem. What's the item number? They're either sending us a full brand new one or all the replacement parts. And they're really making sure that their products are good. And our rep is in touch with the individual suppliers as well. So I think people forget that too. Like Wayfair is not a brand, right? They're a third-party seller that are sourcing from all over the world. So sometimes you're getting these like curated, handmade pieces from these like individual artisans. Like people forget that. So we're just, as long as you're doing your research on those stores and looking at the reviews and doing those things, then you can get some really good items. And with that said, we don't really shy away, like we haven't shied away from like StrucTube and like, some of those like mid to like higher end places, because there is a time and a place for those items as well. But for the most part, like if those higher end places have sales, we'll check those out. But we're not looking to spend like $3,000 on a light fixture because this is an investment and we get that, as you mentioned, first and foremost. So yeah, it's all those stores, and it's just knowing sort of what to buy from where, I think is like the key. And we, from doing this for so long, have learned firsthand, like get this here, don't get this here, get this here, don't get that there,
Yeah, good. What's an average shelf life, like you think, in regards to furniture and stuff? Like what is a general rule, or is there a general rule for furniture just as a turnover? Because I think for everybody here, as I said earlier, this is an investment, guys, that you're making, but it's a return. But we should be budgeting or accruing for some expenditures in the future. So is there shelf lives for some of this stuff, guys? What do you guys think?
Yeah, there definitely is. And like when we're purchasing for our clients, we often do suggest like per bed, we actually order 3 sets of like sheets. So we have one that's on the bed already, a second for turnover, so your cleaners can just like re-put it on and then do the laundry elsewhere. And then we also have a third just as like an emergency standby. So like that's something that you definitely want to allocate funds to. Just kind of like thinking ahead, because again, like your investment, this is a business and you want to keep your business like as self-sufficient and running on its own. So that's like one good thing that we can like help our clients kind of like get ahead. But in terms of like wear and tear, I think it's just naturally like making sure you're in contact with your cleaner or your property management, ensuring the upkeep is there. And then that's even where Heather was saying that's your opportunity to maybe like go in and replenish and then change it up if the themes kind of like changed a little bit.
In terms of just to add, in terms of couches and whatnot too, and those types of things, I think it really depends on the size and location of the property. Because if you have like a 2-bedroom, or a 1-bedroom condo, for example, in like, not necessarily like a tourist destination, you're probably only ever hosting a couple, and probably the wear and tear on that couch is like not going to be that intense, right? Whereas if it's like a 7-bedroom, home in like downtown Nashville, for example, like you're getting big groups of people, probably kids, probably like young 20s, and that couch is going to probably take a beating, right? So I think just taking into consideration those demographics as well is going to help you make those decisions as well, and kind of see like a full cycle on your furniture.
I love that. Very good. And good advice, Heather. That's great. And Erin, thank you so much. Okay. As we kind of wrap things up, we've, got a couple minutes left. I always like to leave this with our guests, because it's, for a lot of people, this is a new venture for them, this new short-term rental thing. And they're maybe listening and exploring this. They're just like, I don't really know where to begin. I see the opportunity. I'm not making any cash flow. Before they venture, or maybe final words from you guys of advice for people that are looking to get started in the short-term rental, or for looking to expand in this, what would be your last words of wisdom or last bits of advice for those that are in the space, getting in the space when it comes from a designing perspective?
I would go ahead, Erin.
I just think like it's just as simple as don't forget to focus on the design. Like you are focusing on the pricing strategies, like the demographics and the location when you're purchasing. And then the design is what's going to actually draw in your avatar and your end user. So that's our takeaway. We kind of nail that all the time. And then actually rolling in, I feel like I know what Heather's going to say.
I was going to say start with the design and go backwards. Like that is the most, it truly is. It's the most important thing. Like I would rather see a client have a little bit of a more dated bathroom, slightly more dated floors, maybe even a little bit more of a dated kitchen and a crazy design. Like when I say crazy, I mean like perfect design, like perfect for the area, perfect for the target market, because that property will still get booked over the newly renovated one that has all the perfect kitchen countertops, whatever, and is bland or is personal homey, as like Erin and I will say. Like we'll look at properties, we're like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's like your personal home, but like, is this MLS? Are we like listing this to purchase our, where we're gonna live, or is this Airbnb? Like that's what you have to really think about. So yeah, we'd rather almost see like a bit more of like dated stuff here and there, because there's easy hacks to change those things as well. Like you can paint stuff, you can replace like with peel and stick tile. Like there's so many little things that you can do to like change up those dated staples in a home. But like if you don't have a design that just wows people and draws them in, you're not getting the booking. So I would say in this hospitality industry, start with design first, and then that put your budget there, and then like work backwards. And if you have to cheap out on like, I don't know, something else, then cheap out somewhere else.
Love it, guys. And again, it's all about standing out, especially in this environment we're in. It's lots of competition. We're seeing the numbers out there. So ladies, I can't thank you guys enough for sharing some of your valuable information, which I know for a lot of people that have joined us live or watching the recording, they're getting a lot out of it. So again, thank you so very much for joining us. And for those that want to learn about you guys, like, with Pinkwall Designs, where can they find them? Where can they find you guys?
Our best and easiest place to catch us is on Instagram, and it's just at Pinkwall Designs. And then that's sort of like the launch pad for everything else that we're doing. But yeah, they can follow us there. Send us a DM with any questions. We're great on our DMs. We get back to people, and yeah, we're happy to connect with them there.
Love it. What I'll do is I'll put this in the description of the video. So if you guys want to definitely follow them, they've got some great tips and stuff on their Instagram page. And, if you want to reach out to them to ask them some questions, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to answer those questions. So thanks again, guys. I really, really appreciate that. So as we kind of wrap things up, guys, I just want to thank you guys all for watching this training session. Hope you guys found a lot of value to this as well that was presented. And if you guys haven't done so already, please, again, if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. Help us grow our Savvy Investor channel, and we'll keep you informed of upcoming videos that we've got planned for the future. So again, regardless if you're watching this live or if you're watching the recording, and if you've got questions, just type them in the comments section here, and it's either myself responding, or I'll also send a link off to Heather or Erin, which I know will be more than happy to answer some questions as well. So with that being said, thank you guys all for joining us. I look forward to seeing you at our next upcoming live training session. Cheers.